Hello guys, welcome back to Django Hub. Today we are going to cover the remaining components of Bootstrap. In earlier sessions we already covered some of the components from Bootstrap. Let's quickly check what we have covered. Click on documentation and then content. I'm sure till typography we already covered in our previous session. So let's go back and open our IDE. Alright, let's start the project. manage.py run server. Great. This is the layout which we covered in our previous sessions, and then we created one more template or typography, and the URL for this you will find in library app. This typography. Let's open this. Great. So till typography we covered all these concepts. We covered all these typography concepts: headings and display headings, lead, inlines, and black quotes and naming spaces, and also lists also we covered. Alright. So today we are going to cover the remaining components like code, images, tables and figures, and other components which are very important. Alright, let's start working on the code. Guys, if you missed my previous sessions, I already shared the links of the sessions in the description of this video. So before going to the session, kindly have a look into that. Alright, let's move on to the code. So what is a code tag in Bootstrap? If you want to display inline and multi-line blocks of code, code means, as you know, whatever we mention in a template, like with HTML tags, is all we'll consider as a code. But when you open this in the template, you haven't find anything, right? It displays the output, but you don't find any code. So for that, we can create, suppose you have a case, for instance, you have a blog, it's a coding blog or programming blog. So in such a blogs, you have to display the code for your end users. So in such case, you have to use a code tag. Alright. So let's start working on how to use code. So I'm taking inline code, and this is where we stop in our previous session. So let's create new block for inline code. As usual, just create div class container, and then div class row, and div class container, div class column and border. Alright, so let's copy this and check what it is going to display. Control V, for example, and have you seen I use a code tag because I want to display this section in my output as a code. So let's refresh front end and check. Have you seen now? For example, the section tag should be wrapped as inline. The section tag is displayed in output as a code. So let's make a break and refresh. Great. And also make heading for this. As we discussed with all how to make headings and everything, let's mention as a code. Great. So what if you want to display a multi-line code? For example, you have a paragraph, or you have a list tags where it has a number of lines. So how to display a multi-line code? For that there is a code blocks. So let's copy this one and quickly check how it is going to work. Though the code blocks also belongs to the same section code, I'm not going to create a different container for it. So what I will do, I will create a different class column and then mention border. Let's copy this code block section. This is the code. Let's copy it and paste it here. Done. Let's refresh the template and check. Great. Have you seen now? The content inside this column as displayed as HTML. Alright, so whenever you want to display in your blog or in your website a pure HTML code, you have to use a pre-tag followed with code tag. Then what about this ampersand LT column and ampersand GT column? Have you seen It's appeared a P opening P tag and an ending P tag. But where are the tags? For instance, for a tag there should be an less than and greater than, right? So whenever the tag has less than and greater than, it will treat as a HTML code. But whenever you mention something inside this code, the execution, at the time of execution, it will think that this is an HTML code. But in our case, we want to display these special characters, this HTML special characters in our output. So what do you mean by HTML special characters? Have you seen here HTML reserved characters? These codes, ampersand, less than, greater than, and these all characters are HTML special characters. These all will be visible on the back end, but in the front end these all will not be visible, because these are helpful to execute the HTML, and it will tell the HTML interpreter that what the code is and belongs to what. Alright, so in our case, if you want to display this tag or display this reserved character, you have to use an entity name. So to display this, I use ampersand LT, and to display greater than, I use ampersand GT. For example, tomorrow if you want to display the codes, you have to use ampersand code, or if you have any special symbols or special reserved characters, you have to use the respective entity name to display in the front end. So in our case, we have to use the less than and greater than. That's why we use ampersand LT and ampersand GT. Have you seen here? Ampersand LT and GT. So this is the less than, I mean closing and opening, and this is GT means greater than, LT less than and GT greater than. So these are going to render these characters in the front end. So that's what it happened here. Have you seen? This is the less than and this is the greater than. Great. So this is how we have to use a code block whenever you want to display HTML code in the front end. Alright, let's move on to the next. And the variable section also is the same. So whenever you have time, just take a look into this. And next we will go to images. So images are responsive in Bootstrap. What do you mean by responsive? Suppose you have an image, and if you open that website in your mobile or in your tab or small screens or wider screens, the image will be responsive automatically. It depends on the screen size. So even though you have a big image with long height and width, whenever you open in a small screen, it will be automatically adjusted to the screen size. So let's have a look into that, how it is going to work. So the inline was completed. Let's collapse this block and make it break. I want to start with a comment. For easy understand, I want to mention as image, and then create a different container for this section, and as usual a row follow with column, and I'm mentioning border for this. Right, so let's copy the code section, copy, and then paste it here. Alright, have you seen I mentioned the class image file? So what it is going to do, it will apply max width as 100% and height as auto, and those are applied to the image so that it scales with parent element. Keep in mind that it will scale with parent element. So whenever you open this web page or this particular block, when it's rendered from different screens, the scale, the width and height automatically fit to the parent element. So what is the parent element for this one? Is this one. Have you seen a curl border? This is the parent element for this one. So whenever you mention this class, it will render and responsive image automatically, depends on the width and height of this block. Alright, so here we have to mention an image. So I already mentioned I copied one image inside our static directory. Inside image sections, I have an image1.jpeg. So how to call that image here? As I explained in my previous sessions, so we have to use static, and then we have to give the path where the file exists. So inside the static, we don't need to define the absolute path, because that is going to manage by Django, because we already mentioned load static. The load static is referring to the settings.py in your project Django root directory. Here in settings.py, this one. I already explained about this static files directory registration, that is os.path.join base did static. So the absolute path is going to manage by Django, so no need to worry about that. So simply we have to mention the path where it is inside the static. So this is the static directory. So inside the static we have image, and inside the image we have image1, image1.jpg. That's it. And alt, you can define anything here. Alright, so let's make a break here for better understanding, and also make a heading responsive image. Alright, let's reload the template. Have you seen now? The image was rendered automatically. Though it is responsive, we have to check the different screens. Okay, let's minimize it. Have you seen now? Whenever I decrease the width of this web page, decrease and increase, the image will be automatically adjusted. Have you seen? It's becoming bigger when I expand the screen size, and it's becoming smaller when I decrease the screen size. So when you open in the website, it will display like a small to big, depends on the screen size. And also whenever you open this in small screens like mobiles and tabs, the image will be automatically adjusted. Alright, so here I clearly mentioned one more point, that the width and the height automatically adjusted as it scales with parent element. So what is the parent element here? The row, the column, right? So what will happen if you open one more column here? View class is equal to column. What will happen? Let's refresh and check. Have you seen now? So this is where I mentioned clearly that the width and height will be scales with parent element. So this image tag exists inside the div tag, that is call tag, this tag, and this one is a different column. So inside the row, out of 12 columns, or out of 100%, 50% took by the call 1 and 50% took by call 2. Simply you can mention for better understanding, this is call 1 and this is call 2. Have you seen now? So div has 12 call units. I mean this row has 12 call units, in that this first column took 6 call units. 6 call units, and remaining the second column took remaining 6 call units. So even though image size is bigger, but still it scales up to the parent element. So the parent element code has only 6 units, that's why it took only the 50% of the row. Alright, great. Or if you want to remove this one, and you can refresh, and it will take the space accordingly to the parent element. Alright, just I mentioned this one, and here mention anything. This is call to with 6 call units. So this is the second column. Great, and we don't mention the border. We can mention the border here to display. Great. Alright, so this is how the responsive image is going to work. That is the beauty of the Bootstrap. Alright, and let's work on this image thumbnails also. So have a look into this. It's almost similar to this one. It's nothing else, just you have to mention the align, right and left, and also the size also you can mention. Whenever you mention the class thumbnail, it will take by default size 200 into 200. And here also rounded mx auto d block. Whenever you use this class, it will display that block in the center of that parent block. For example, in our parent block we have a column, so in this column it will display in the middle of the parent block. Alright, and the rounded is almost all similar to this. Just have a look and try these all things. Okay, And next we go to next section is tables. I'm sure the tables are very important. The tables are useful whenever you want to bring the data from your models, or display a front-end data, or bringing back from the back end, or reading some text files or XML files and displaying those all things. So let's have a look into this section as well. Let's start working on how to use Bootstrap tables in our project. Alright, go back to our Django, and instead of using the same typography template, let's create a new template. So I'm going to rename it as tables, and make sure you have to take the header section. The reason, because we are going to use the Bootstrap styles and JavaScripts, so that's the reason I'm going to copy the header section. So here they mention the CSS and the JavaScripts. Alright, so to render this template we need a view. So let's create a view for this. So tab, say that tables, and then request, and what we are going to return, render request, and the template name. Template is tables.html. Alright, so whenever you see like underline exceptions, that is because of indent, press Ctrl Alt L. Alright, have you seen now the exception is gone? So now the view is ready, and the view is telling to render the template tables.html. So let's create a URL for this, because we have to use an URL to call this view so that it can be rendered the tables.html template. So go to urls.py and create a new path for this, a path to call the tables. So just I mentioned tables, and then views dot, what is the view name? Tables, right? Views dot tables. Have you seen here? The name is tables. So views dot tables, name is equal to, I'm going to mention tables. That's it. So let's call this one. How to call this? We have to call by using this path. This is the base root. You can find the base root from Django base root urls.py. What is the base root? The base URL. So what is the base URL here? Without any subdirectory, this is the base URL. So what we have to append to the base URL so that you will be able to see the tables, we have to keep this one, tables, and paste it here. Great, but we forgot to change the title. So let's go back to, let's close this tables and mention here Bootstrap tables. Alright, refresh. Yeah, the title has been appeared. Let's go back to Bootstrap documentation. If you observe here, Bootstrap has different themes, different type of styles. Initially this is the one style, and if you scroll down you will find a dark theme with different style. And table head options, you can define the headers for your table with different style, and the columns. So let's go one by one. Okay, so let's copy the first one. This is the first style. Let's copy, and as usual whenever you open div, we should go with div class is equal to container, and then div class is equal to row, and last div class is equal to. So though it is a table, I don't want to use the border, so let's paste it here, the code which we copied, and Ctrl Alt L. So whenever you press Ctrl Alt L, the indent and the format of the code will appear nicely like this. And let's collapse this table. Have you seen now? So we open a container and then row, and inside the column we display this table. Let's go back and refresh our template. Have you seen now? The table was ready. Right? Great. So let's rename this one. So we have to keep a heading for this, right? So let's keep a heading under the container. H3. You can mention Bootstrap tables. So type here as Django Bootstrap tables. Alright, the heading was done now. Great. So let's, in the same way, we can copy other uh, themes as well. For example, the next one is dark mode. So let's copy this one as well. Let's create a different row for it. So this is table 1. You can create the comment here as table 1, and let's create a different row. This is table 2, and for this we are going to create div class is equal to row, and it has one column. Div class is equal to column. I'm not going to create multiple columns inside the row because table takes a lot of space because it has multiple columns. That's why I created only one column inside the row. If you have a smaller tables like 3 columns or 4 columns, you can use a different column. Okay, different column inside the row. I will show you that shortly. Control V and Control Alt L. Alright, so this is our second table. Let's refresh template. Have you seen? Now this is our second table. So what is the difference between the first and two? It's almost same, only there is one property has been added. In the initial one, the first table, it doesn't mention any class other than table. It simply mentioned table. But if you observe the second model, it mentioned table dark. Let's make heading this one as table dark. So except this class, remaining all are same. Alright, so let's refresh, and have you seen table dark? But why it is coming on the left? The reason we mentioned here below the row. So that is the reason it's coming like that. So to work on this, just cut this one and keep above the row. Let's refresh. Have you seen? It's fixed. So this is how we have to mention the headers. Alright. So what's next? Let's go to the next theme, the table head options. So let's create a different section. For example, I'm going to mention the name as table head options. So this is a different style. As usual, div class is equal to row, and div class is equal to column. And mention the title for this one, h3, as table head options. Copy and mention here table head options. Alright, so the third example, table head options, it is going to display like this. Let's copy this one and paste it over here inside your column. Control V and Control Alt L. Alright, so this is our third section, table head options. Just collapse the table, and there are 2 tables. Have you seen here? There's 2 tables inside this section. So let's refresh and check. Yes, have you seen? Table head options has 2 tables. One table with a dark header background and another table with a lighter header background. We can divide this one into 2 different rows as well, or we can simply define a break, and you can mention here and heading. For example, I want to mention heading here as table light. What is the class here? T head light. Or we can give in any name, table header with light theme or light background. Alright, so refresh now. Have you seen table header with lighter background, and we also given one break. And here also we can mention table header with dark background. So inside the column, you can simply mention h3 is equal to h3 tag table header with dark background. Alright, let's refresh. Great, these 2. But why don't you mention these 2 together? Because now these 2 are appended vertically, right? But in my case or in my website, I want to display these 2 in horizontal way. It's mean one after the other. So how we can achieve that? And before that, we should know why it is displayed one after the below. I mean, why it is displayed vertically. That's because we mentioned a div class is equal to column, and inside the column we mentioned the two tables. So as I said, an image or table, these all elements are responsive, so automatically this element will take the space of a parent element. What is the space? The width. So the width and height of this element will take automatically from the parent element. So in order to display these two tables in horizontally one after the other, what we have to do is, let's delete this break and create a different column. Div class is equal to column, and inside the column let's cut this content and paste it over here. So what we have done here, so inside the row, this row has 12 call units, remember, and inside the row we have call 1 and call 2. Let's say that this is call 1 with 6 call units, and this one, the second column, is call 2 with 6 call units. Guys, don't worry about the call units, I already explained this in our previous session. So if you're confused about what is call units and how the columns are going to render, kindly have a look into previous sessions. Alright, so now we mentioned two columns inside the row, call 1 and call 2. So inside the call 1 we define one table, alright, and inside the call 2 we define another table. So call 1 table is the dark background and call 2 table with light background. So let's refresh and check. Have you seen now how beautifully the both tables are appeared here? So why don't you make some separation? So I want to, under this row, I want to give it a line, horizontal line. So for that you can use HR. Let's refresh. Have you seen this is the line? Great. So inside the line we have table head options. So under the table head options we have two columns, the column 1 and the column 2. So in your case, if you want to display two tables in the same row, we can achieve in this way. Alright, great. But in case if you want to display three tables, that's very easy. So we have to create another column. So now we created two columns. So let's create another column. For example, this is call 3 with how many call units? It will not be 6, because if you create two columns, 12 by 2, because the row has 12 call units. So if you create one column, it will take 12 call units. But if you take two columns, 12 by 2 is equal to 6 each call units. I mean, each column will take 6 call units. But now we are going to create 3 columns. For instance, div class is equal to call. So how many now? 3. So 12 by 3, how much? So each one will come with 4. So it will change to 4 call units, and this one will change to 4 call units, and this one with 4 call units. Alright, so let's copy this again, or take this one, anything, and paste it over here. Alright, so inside the row we have 3 columns and each column with 4 call units. Let's refresh. Have you seen now? It has 3 tables. So this is how we have to render the Bootstrap template styles or different themes in your front end based on your requirement. Alright, so when you get down, there is a different styles. Have you seen the striped rows? Let's have a look into this as well. That's quite easy, right? Yeah, the Bootstrap is really easy, and I'm sure you can enjoy that. So let's go back. This is the row, and here let's mention a different heading. I want to give a comment, and then let's mention heading as striped rows, and then as usual div class is equal to row, and inside this div class is equal to column. Alright, let's copy this content. There's the content. Have you seen The only difference between these all tables, have you seen the above table, the below tables, only one class, that is thead dark to display the dark header, and thead light, have you seen here, thead light to display a lighter header, lighter background header. So it's all up to you. If you are looking for a darker theme or darker style, use that one. And have you seen here, the only difference is table striped. Table stripes means you want something to be like this. I want every row, every alternative row with these colors. Okay, so let's copy this one and paste it over here. Ctrl Alt L and let's refresh. Have you seen now the striped rows was ready? But in case you want to use striped rows and also a table header with dark background, so you want to use together in one table. So how we can achieve that? So in table header, here in this table we don't have striped rows, right? But we have a beautiful dark header. But I have a requirement where I want to use both the striped rows and as well as the table dark header. So how we can do that? It's very easy. Inside the table header, let's go back to your table header section. So where is that table head options? Here inside the row we have 3 columns. Have you seen table header with dark background? Here there is a class called thead class thread dark. Have you seen thead dark? This class you have to add it to your striped row section. For example, here thead class is equal to thead dark. Have you seen? That's what we mentioned here. Thead class is equal to thead dark. I took this class and I appended this class to my striped row section. Alright, let's refresh and check. This header has to change same like this one. Refresh now. Oh, have you seen how beautiful it is? Now you achieve the requirement of this one and requirement of striped rows also. For instance, if you want a lighter background, it's very easy. Go back to your lighter section, that is here with lighter background. Take this thead light class, copy it and go back to your striped row section and replace this class with light. That's it. Now refresh. Have you seen the header was changed as per header light background. Alright, so this is how we are going to achieve, but the dark looks a little better, so I'm going to keep dark. Alright, so in the next sessions, if you scroll down, I think, yeah, you can try this all. There's nothing much difference, only you have to append these classes, table striped and table dark. This is also almost similar to what we have done now, and then just copy this code and paste in your backend and execute and check. And this is all similar, there's nothing more difference. Alright, so try these all sections, I'm sure you like it. And one more thing I want to mention here, the data here, have you seen the TR, table headers and the table rows? These are we manually mention here in our HTML code, but in our real-time projects this will not be happen. In real-time projects we have to take this data from backend, from your database models or from external source, for example in text files or XML files or from a JSON through Ajax. So don't worry, this all we are going to cover in upcoming sessions. So today's session is just to understand how the Bootstrap table themes and the styles are going to appear, right? Great, so let's move on. The next session is figures. So what do you mean by figures? It's very simple. If you want to display a piece of content like an image with an optional caption, consider using this tag. Alright, so it's very easy. If you want to display any piece of content, like for instance take an image with an optional caption. What is a caption? This is the caption. Have you seen below the image we displayed a caption, right? So let's quickly do this one as well. So go back to here. I want to display in the top section. Let's collapse all the columns and collapse this as well. Alright, and div class container. So this container is all about tables, right? So just mention as tables. But I'm going to use now different section for this one, that is figures. FIGURE is figures. So I'm creating container for this one, container, and then div class is equal to call, sorry, should be row, and then div class is equal to call. All right, so here we are going to display this block. So let's copy and then paste it over here. Control Alt L. Great. Have you seen we don't assign the path of our image? So what it will do? Let's go back and refresh. So let's go. Have you seen the image was not found because we haven't mentioned the path for it? So let's do that. Open and close a brace and merge and mention this is static and assign the path. We have image here inside the static, that is image slash image1.jpg. Alright guys, let's refresh now, and have you seen now for image, responsive image and this one there is no much difference. Only difference is this one, a caption of the above image. Have you seen? So this is the caption. You can mention anything, a beautiful image or a caption for the image or a beautiful image. A beautiful image. Image. The landscapes. Alright, and if you refresh, the same caption will appear here. As I said, images are responsive, so whenever you minimize, keep in mind you don't need to worry that you have to design this template or design this website for multiple screens and multiple websites. So we don't need to worry. So whenever you use a Bootstrap, you can design once and that will render in all platforms or all the different screens beautifully. So we don't need to worry about that. So let's try to minimize this one. Have you seen the image size with caption also auto adjusting? Great. And what's next? So in the same section there's different styles. A caption for the above image. Have you seen here the caption aligned at the left? You can keep that one aligned at right also. Further you have to add an additional class text right. The both are same, only difference here we mention as text right. That's all guys. And if you observe carefully here we mention image fluid because we mentioned figure image and image fluid. What image fluid will do I already mentioned. Image fluid will set the max width to 100% and height also as auto and apply to the image so that it scales with parent element. Great, that's all for today guys, and in upcoming sessions we are going to cover the most important concepts, that is alerts, breadcrumbs, buttons. These all sections we are going to cover in upcoming session, and I'm sure a lot of stuff is coming ahead. Please stay connected by subscribing to this channel, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you.